Okay, well, I have a new webcam again. Hopefully, as you can see, this one's a bit better. And, well, welcome to my new video. Now, today we're going to be talking about a few different things. There's some stuff that I really want to get off my chest here. First and foremost, a lot of people have noticed that, or have heard, and for those who haven't, this will be news to you, but the DBZ Blu-rays were indeed canceled. And before anyone starts making speculations as to why, they were canceled for two reasons. Number one being that the remastering process turned out to be far more expensive than they had thought because they're working with frankly damaged film. Or in some cases, they just have to do one heck of a lot of restoration or remastering. And it's pretty darned expensive. See, when they got the Kai discs or footage, it was easy to put it on the Blu-ray because it had already been remastered in Japan. Here, they're having to front their own money to try to restore the old footage and try to make it HD compatible, and frankly, not working that well without costing a crap load of money. And yeah, plus per units being produced, sales were not that good. So all these people show up wanting, they're throwing a freaking fit. Mostly, for the most part, the only reason they wanted it was because Kai was on Blu-ray and DBZ wasn't, and they said we want DBZ on Blu-ray, and they got DBZ on Blu-ray, and then they didn't buy it. Boy, them fans. At any rate, yeah, okay, so that's that. That's what happened there. Next thing I want to talk about, Doug, as you may or may not know, has done another video which has pretty much convinced me that he has absolutely no brain activity whatsoever. Suffice it to say, the man actually has no idea what pacing is. I've explained before that most of the stuff that they left in Kai that was the filler from the old show was left in for the sake of pacing. Some of it is, in fact, alteration from the manga a little bit still, such as the ending version wherein everybody was blasting it. So, it's not really canon breaking, so I really don't have that big of an issue with it. Because, I mean, even if they are shooting at them, they're still pretty much scared out of their minds. They really don't think they're really worried about their chances to beat him. All that good stuff. So I'm not seeing it as terribly affecting the series, but some people might. I really don't think it's that bad, but either way, most of it is left in there for the sake of, as I said, pacing. And you need pacing for the sake of not ending on an awkward note, because if you were to just take 20 minutes and try to cram as much manga in there as possible, well, you'd wind up stopping in the middle of a chapter because you just run out of time. There's a finite amount of time that you can do all this in. And so, you have to have it in there for pacing. Doug made the rather ignorant statement that if they had just scrapped all the old animation and completely done new animation, they would not have to have anything for pacing because they could work at their own pace, even though they are pretty much editing to fit their own pace. So, yeah, they'd still have that same problem. I really don't know. I really don't know how he thinks. I don't. Oh God. But yeah, he made that claim. He made the claim that the animation sucks because it was good back in the 80s and 90s, but now compared to the animation we have today, it's completely sucky. Even though that was actual hand-drawn animation, and what we have now is digitally enhanced, digitally drawn, computer drawn. That's not to say there's not someone, for the most part, doing it, but they use a computer to do so, which can auto-correct mistakes, it can extra define lines, it can auto-shade, and, hand-drawn stuff, to me, I got a lot more respect for, simply because they actually took the time to sit down and draw it by hand. So, you know, and yeah, sure, as technology becomes available, we can do stuff that we didn't used to be able to do. And but I mean, for its time, it was amazing, yes, and even now, it's amazing. It's really something that changed the face of animation, even in the realm of anime. It was very unique. Anime manga, it revolutionized it completely. So, I mean, something that completely revolutionized an entire industry, something that something that was such a big um, footprint in history. You really don't want to screw with that too much, especially since it's the legacy of the original crew, a lot of which who are retired and or dead. Some are still working, some aren't. It's but yeah, oh god. And then he made the lovely case that the original stayed closer to the manga than Kai did, because Kai actually added 3 holes on top of what was already there. Therefore, Kai is only 80% close to the manga, whereas the old anime was 90% close. I don't know how you can arrive to that conclusion. The only way it added any problems, is if it kept everything and then added more stuff. He actually said the inconsistencies in and of themselves, the giant gaping plot holes that were added, that they were pretty much no big deal compared to what's in Kai, and he cites things such as that scene with Cell. So yes, apparently that scene there with Cell is just so totally unforgivably departing from the manga, but the scene wherein Gohan transforms into an Uzaru by looking at a picture of a full moon, and Piccolo has to destroy the ship Goku came in, that is completely, totally, 100% acceptable. But this, no, that's just horrible and worse, and makes the whole thing further from the manga. No, I'm not gonna lie that it's a change, but it's not a terrible one per se. It doesn't really break with the canon, because these guys are still clearly terrified and still frustrated at the fact that even after doing this, they have absolutely no power to hurt Cell. If anything, you could argue that it actually reinforces the point a little bit more, because they actually are doing something and it's still not hurting him. But as I said, that's something you could argue, not necessarily guaranteed. That's open to interpretation. But it doesn't break the canon, it doesn't ruin the story, and yet things that did, he actually excuses in favor of bashing this. But the kicker came when he said that unless an anime is 95 to 100% close to the manga, then it's a joke and it sucks. Just a while after saying that Dragon Ball Z was only 90% close to the manga, ergo by his own standard, Dragon Ball Z, the old series, sucks. Well, there you go. I'd love to see what he has to say about Naruto and its literal 100 episode fillers. Uh, but yeah. That's a story for another day. Now, here comes the big one. New trailer for The Amazing Spider-Man gets released. And frankly, most of the complaints that were spawned from the first one no longer hold any water. The thought that somehow he's completely emo, done away with. The thought that he's not going to be making any jokes, done away with. It showed that it's got plot, it's got action, it's got some good acting, it's got a range. Spider-Man's making his jokes again. The web shooters are there and they work great. There was all the speculation that, we're going to have a mix. It's like, no. There's absolutely nothing to indicate other than that string that was on the back of his neck, which was in the bite, which was there when he was just starting to mutate, so whatever. Anyway, Anyway, there are even more stupid complaints, believe it or not. But okay, you know what? First, I'm gonna apologize for anything you may or may not hear. I don't live alone, and apparently people haven't got an idea of what it means to be respectful and not speak while I'm recording. Um, and it's probably gonna be this way for a while. So, it's either that or I stay up till 3 a.m. recording again, and I really don't want to. But again, moving back to Spider-Man, there are all kinds of new complaints. There are actually people complaining because he's not buff. He's demonstrating, frankly, more physical strength than Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man ever did, but he's not buff, therefore he's a scrawny wuss, therefore he should not be Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man's not exactly known for his bulging muscles. He was far more slender and scrawny. It fits more with his characteristic of being a Spider-Man. Not to mention the fact that at this point he's a teenager. So he's not going to be all built and buff. He's going to be a bit more gangly. There are actually people saying, get this, that the joking ruins the character because Spider-Man was supposed to be more serious and dramatic, and that made me laugh. Because, I mean, these are the same people, by the way, who were criticizing the last trailer as being emo and how he's not cracking jokes, and now all of a sudden he's just too much of a smartass. And I'm quoting here. Too much of a smartass, they say. It's crazy. Now, frankly, I've been seeing a lot of unfair criticism of CG in a lot of movies lately. I honestly think it comes from Avatar coming out. People seem to think that that's somehow the new standard. It's not. It's so far above any kind of realistic standard that it's not even funny. I mean, they spent $300 million to make that movie, over $200 million of which went to the CGI. I mean, that's more than the entire budget of Iron Man, for pity's sake. That being said, no, I don't think the CGI looks that bad, but that's me. The Lizard. That's another thing. We finally got to see him. And all these people complaining about, where's his muzzle? Where's this? Where's that? He looks horrible. They screwed him up bad. His design in the film is based on his first comic appearance and his appearance under Steve Ditko in the Spider-Man hierarchy. Basically, he had a much more humanoid face. The look started to change over time. And this was then later explained essentially by the fact that his lizard form. See, when he first appeared as a lizard, he was intelligent, he was capable of speech, everything. And the basic premise is that as he keeps transforming, and the longer this goes on, he starts to devolve more and more. At least his other mind starts reverting more and more to an animal state, and so he becomes more and more of an animal in appearance. But, I mean, this is in the very beginning. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, that he kills him off. I see no indication that he actually killed him. In fact, considering the fact that they are taking the fact that Peter is indeed a genius scientist in this movie, which he was in the comics, then yeah, he probably won't have to just kill him. He probably will be trying to find a cure, if it's possible. Another complaint is that they take the mask off. It's like there are only 2 times you see him with his mask off in the trailer. The first is when he does get caught off guard by the police. Hits Cap. I'm guessing he ran out of webbing if the way he's moving and fighting is any indication, which did happen in the comics. It was a plot device often, and it would be nice actually to see it here. But when they take his mask off him, he's smart enough this time to keep his face down, blow through the cops, manage to escape while making certain no one gets a good look at him, and disappear into a dark alley. So, it's not like 100 different people saw him, like in a certain film where an entire train full of people saw him without his mask on, and none of them decided to be an utter douche and post the photo to, Facebook or YouTube or anywhere. which, yeah, that's so realistic in New York City. Um, but anyways, most of these complaints are just plain stupid. They really are. But the penultimate one, the one that apparently seems to be the most unforgivable to people, is the fact that Doc Connors, what is now Richard Parker's former lab partner. Yeah, that's the most horrible thing to them, is that Dr. Connors and Richard Parker were at one point lab partners. I mean, these are the same people who thought it was perfectly okay to have Sandman be a sad, weepy, I just wanted to help my daughter villain. These are the same people who thought that the concept of Doc Ock just being this sad guy who's tore up over the grief of losing his wife, um, being controlled by these robotic arms that he programmed to somehow be smarter than even him. That's perfectly acceptable. That's fine. These are the same people. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to go into all the details. Basically, the same people who thought stuff like that was perfectly a-okay are now complaining about the fact that Doc Connors was Peter's dad's lab partner. It's stupid. It's ridiculous, but there it is. Honestly, I don't even know fully how to address this complaint. It is such a small, insignificant little thing that it's not even funny. Um, I, I, I mean that's just it right there. You really don't need to say any more about that. How stupid it is. Um, They're both scientists. They're both in the field of genetics and bioresearch, and the odds of them working together at some point, considering which companies are involved in that, there's a limited number of companies actually involved in that, specifically a limited number of companies with any kind of real funding. So, whatever. It establishes a good connection, a reason for him to meet Dr. Connors without having to shove the story into college, a reason to bring in Oscorp. They're actually developing things with a good pace this time, which is really cool for me. I really do enjoy it. The way this is starting to look anyways. I'm hoping that they don't then later decide, okay, now we need to rush into stuff. I'm hoping that they keep this feel, this pace, this slow development, because that's actually going to feel like good development. Now, another interesting one that I've seen, perhaps not the biggest one, but perhaps the one that's been thrown at me by excuse me, by my fellow nerds the most, is the concept that Gwen Stacy is supposed to hate Spider-Man and not know that it's Peter. Well, yes and no. The concept of Gwen Stacy knowing it's Peter, that's arbitrary, that's something that they're doing different. Yeah. But the concept of Gwen Stacy supposed to hate Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy does not actually come to hate Spider-Man until the death of Captain George Stacy. She blames him for it. And as you can see, Captain Stacy is alive and well in this film. So Gwen would have absolutely no reason to hate Spider-Man at this point. And even if she knows that it's Peter, it actually does provide a very interesting, dramatic point in a possible future film. Knowing that, she blames Spider-Man for her dad's death, and knowing that Peter is Spider-Man, how this could go. I really don't think I need to explain it that far. But, yeah, she didn't hate him until her dad died. So, seeing as he's alive, I see no reason to complain. I just don't. Oh yeah, speaking of Gwen, there are still people who insist that that's Mary Jane and they made her a blonde for some reason. But anyway, that's pretty much it for now. I will say that is quite literally the movie that I'm looking forward to the most this year. I am so hyped for this movie. It's unreal. I'm seriously wanting to drive the extra 60 miles to go see it in Madison on an IMAX screen or maybe even in 3D. And yes, I said I want to see it in 3D because the 3D that they're using for this film isn't post-production 3D. It was shot for 3D. It was shot using those cameras that James Cameron invented. And the 3D conversion is being handled by the people who handled the 3D for Avatar. So I'm thinking that it's going to be at least decent 3D. Just saying. That being said, yeah, I'm definitely gonna want to go see that. I'm also gonna go see Act of Valor as soon as that movie comes out. That movie looks freaking sweet. I want to see Ghost Rider. Yes, I actually want to see Ghost Rider Spirited. So, I didn't think the first one was that bad. Nothing stellar at all, but it was good, cheesy fun. My mom actually liked it for whatever reason too, so she actually wants to see that. It's kind of weird, but yeah. And so yeah, all kinds of fun there. At any rate, I guess that does it for now, and I will see you guys in the comments then. Later.